you doing? I'll tell you what you're doing. You're listening to the Elder Scrolls Lorecast. Either you are, or I'll be skipping rope with your entrails. Ta-ta.
This is the Elder Scrolls Lorecast, your source for lore and so much more. Adventurers, welcome back to the Elder Scrolls Lorecast. It is the end of June already, and we have another patron chat, and there are some big things that are happening with Microsoft and the future of Elder Scrolls, and we're going to discuss it tonight. We have me, of course, I'm Tom, or Robots if you're new. Welcome to the show if you're new, by the way. We've been doing this for a while. Lotus is here also, but then also we have Rob the Princess and Falcon with the Box on joining from the Patreon. And Lotus, why don't you set us up? Why don't you toss us the, what's it called in volleyball where you do the little hand thing and then it goes up in the air and then somebody spikes it?
A set of, I don't know. I don't know.
Set us up.
Yeah,
because we're good sports
that.
people.
I was going to say volleyball is not my expertise whatsoever. If that wasn't painfully obvious.
All right.
Yeah, so Microsoft has been in the news quite a bit, and one of the statements that has garnered a lot of attention is the fact that Fallout and Elder Scrolls is taking too long to make, and I don't think anybody on this show or my other show will argue that point.
They just figured this out.
At least. Yeah, they just figured it out. It's a new revelation, and they were looking into finding a way to expedite more with the IPs, whether that's, other companies making it, maybe making the games faster. I don't know if that's really a logical option, but mainly we need more being done with these incredibly popular IPs that we spent several $billion purchasing,
right?
And then haven't been making anything. We've had Elder Scrolls Online, which
haven't been releasing anything new.
Yes,
let's be clear, because as you were going to say, Elder Scrolls Online is still going, Fallout 76 is still going. Those are live service games, but then the next mainline Elder Scrolls still might be a few years off. We don't know. And then
and I do
is there
want
even more
to just
Fallout? We don't know yet.
One quick note that I feel I've been ranting about a decent amount recently. They've puked out a couple phone games.
Puked out. How do you feel about those phone games, Lotus?
Look, man, clearly Castles is my favorite.
It's clear your favorite game.
But actually, the other two Elder Scrolls phone games I feel were very well done, to be fair. Legends and Blades I thought were really good. But and Fallout Shelter was awesome as well. So it's like they've got those, and then, Castles technically exists. But
wait, hold on. I have to. Shelter was good, but Castles is bad. Aren't they the same carbon copy with a different skin?
I would argue that they are in the same genre, but they function differently.
So let me put it this way.
Castles is more clunky.
I'm all for hating Castles, but if you're like, but Shelter was great, I'm lost.
So here's my thing. Castles is if you took all the fun parts of Fallout Shelter and jammed a bunch of crap on top of it, so you can't use those features.
Just took those out.
No, they're still there. They're just buried deep in gameplay that's not fun and microtransactions.
Yeah, had they just reskinned Fallout Shelter with Elder Scrolls stuff,
yes, that would have been better.
Probably would have been a better game.
100%. But yeah, so either way, are we getting spin-offs? More is sort of the thing. And who do we want to see do these if this is actually a thing? Because we have seen this happen every now and then. New Vegas probably being the most popular, not Bethesda-made one. But then Bethesda's made some of their own. Shadowkey, Battlespire.
And you could argue Fallout 76 and ESO are outsourced by ZeniMax.
Right. I was going to say ZeniMax is
well, 76 isn't kind of. ESO is ZeniMax. Fallout 76 is an offshoot sub studio. The game was originally worked on a lot by the main game studio while they were also updating the engine for Starfield. Mm-hmm. And then that became an offshoot studio that now manages and maintains 76.
Yeah, for sure. So, and it all gets a little muddied. So even I would say some of the outsourcing, quote unquote, could still and probably should still involve Bethesda property. And I think that's when they're at their best, is when it's a collaborative effort.
Heck, in fact, Todd has even mentioned that work on the next mainline Elder Scrolls game is primarily the in-house Bethesda like main studio, but there is work that is distributed across the greater connective ZeniMax Bethesda landscape.
Yeah, sure.
And Fallout 76 has hired external studios to do other things, like design some of the things that come up in the shop and that kind of stuff.
Also, I was going to say, I know they factored in id to help with the shooting when they overhauled the shooting in 76 as well, because like stuff like that.
Right. Yeah. So there is a lot of cross work that goes into these things. It's not as simple as just this one studio does everything, but oftentimes the main studio will maintain the right to, like, they manage externally the other studios that are working, and they maintain the vision of the game. And also, like, if the external studio does something and they don't like it, they can veto it and say, okay, redo that or whatever. So it's complicated, but it's, I don't know. I'm mostly interested to hear we've got Rob and Falcon here, so I really want to focus on your guys' thoughts. So
this is just sort of like the layout to it. So it's like, we have a lot of options. What are people interested in seeing? Do you even want this? Do you want spin-offs, or do you like it being a billion years in between? So it's like hyper, look, it's like, oh man, it's a total event, or would Plus, this in between stuff be beneficial? And
spin-off could also be another very similar game like Fallout New Vegas was to Fallout 76, or it could be a Battle Spire compared to Daggerfall, that kind of thing. Yeah. So okay, so let's open this up. Rob, Falcon, do you guys have thoughts? Who wants to go first?
I'll let Falcon go if you got something.
Falcon, what do you think?
I like the Fallout 3 to New Vegas over, was it Morrowind to Battlespire, Daggerfall to
Battlespire? Battlespire. Okay. Yeah.
Right. So you would prefer them outsource another mainline style game that's just like a different setting?
In the same style, but have because all the assets and engine work is there, so you have that outside company come in and put together basically a story to tell instead of having to build the whole game. I think that is what I would like them to do for the in-between time.
Okay, so let me play devil's advocate, because I think that's a fun idea if it works out well, but a lot of people who would argue against that will say, well, how do you make sure it's of the same quality? How do you make sure that the lore matches? How do you make sure, there's a lot of naysayers who will say, well, Bethesda's the only company that's ever really made these games, at least in the mainline games. I'm not talking like outsourcing the mobile stuff. But like, they're the ones who do the mainline games, and the lore is very important, even though there are inconsistencies and things. But like, when you look at something like ESO, one of the big complaints is people go, I would like to play ESO, but it doesn't feel enough like Skyrim. Yep. And clearly it's not. It's an MMO. It's designed, the function is very different. So what you're saying is take the same engine, take a lot of the assets, and just let some other company be creative with that. I mean, is that where you're going, Falcon?
Yeah, let another company be creative with it. Yeah, it won't. It's unlikely they'll end up being to the same standard that Bethesda is, but I'd rather have a game that's 75-80% of what Bethesda makes than wait 15 18 years.
Well, what's interesting about the New Vegas Fallout 3 analogy is now, years later, lots of people will say that Fallout New Vegas was the better game of the two, and actually had more interesting lore.
I think it is the better one, but I think
but it also was buggier on release.
It's lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, it's a little.
It's not going to happen again.
Right, and it's a little revisionist history on how people remember it. The best quote I ever heard from somebody was, everybody loves Fallout New Vegas as long as you don't have to play it as the base game, because it doesn't work without
as long as you don't have to turn the game
things
on.
to fix
It's great.
it. Yes,
Yeah.
Like,
I
all
play
the
it on
fixes
my
make it work. and then it becomes a really good product.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
It's
I kind of
buggy,
agree
and
with
it's still
that,
buggy, and
'cause-
it never got
It's
fixed.
definitely still buggy.
Yeah, because I was going to say, I had to restart that game so many times to 100% it on 360. And by the time I did, I was like, I actually don't have a lot of great feelings about this. I had to restart this so many times.
Nostalgia and rose-colored glasses that's just making it as the best game that.
But again, the foundation to that game was really good, as well as it was a different setting. The story was super dark. Like, it had a lot of stuff people did like.
Do you think it's like a Stockholm syndrome? Like because the deep down there's a lot of real good stuff in New Vegas, but because the game is just so abusive to you as a player by crashing so much that people like have convinced themselves that it's worth the effort to keep playing.
I definitely have thoughts on, but that's more of my whole spiel. Because like Battlespire and Redguard are definitely not regarded as the best games in the Elder Scrolls series.
Hell no.
But
no,
I think it's very
debatably playable.
It's very hard to argue that they're not some of the most interesting games in the entire series.
Yeah, from a lore standpoint, they do some interesting things that the other games wouldn't have been capable of doing.
That's what I think New Vegas is another great example of that, where maybe it's not the best in the series. Some people will argue that it is, and a ton of people will argue against that. But it definitely is one of the most interesting ones.
I think it has some of the coolest factions and some of the stuff on how they interact.
That's the benefit of getting these other perspectives, because if you let Bethesda just keep doing what Bethesda's going to do, it does get a little tired sometimes. I think Skyrim was great. But I think having a second project that came out, shortly after that had a completely different story to tell from a different perspective altogether would have been really, really interesting. So, and we never really got that, unfortunately. But yeah, that would have been cool to have these side projects continue to be outsourced, because like Battlespire and Redguard are not. They were done by Bethesda, so maybe that's a bad example.
Right.
They are.
They're not mainline entries.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So I want to explore this idea now, this like New Vegas to Fallout 3 version of things. We have clearly a Elder Scrolls 6 that has been in production now for years and could be, some people, if you go to the subreddit, people are joking every day. Like, I feel it in my bones. It's a shadow drop today. And then of course everybody laughs at them. But like chances are it's not this fall. It may be fall of 27. It may be fall of 28. It looks like we're probably within 2.5 years of release at the most. That seems to be the sentiment right now, but we might not be. What do you see? So if we were to like go this direction, and Falcon, I want to get more of your take on this.
Yeah.
And you all of a sudden start a new project. So maybe I'm thinking through the steps, right? You hand them the current build of the engine, which we know they've been continuing to update. You give them some inside information about like, okay, this is the scope of the next major Elder Scrolls game. These are the topics. Here are some options for what you could tackle. Here are some regions for what you could tackle. Here's whatever. That's still a 3 or 4 year turnaround, at least.
We're already too late in the cycle to have an in-between game, I think.
Right.
It would have to be between 6 and 7.
Yeah, this would be the next round of in-betweens.
Right. But the old pattern for in-betweens, if we look at like Fallout 3 to New Vegas, was like a year and a half or something like that. There was a time where Bethesda was releasing a new major game, either made by or published by them, every year or every 2 years at the most for like a little while there. They were just like, here's Oblivion, here's Fallout 3, here's New Vegas, here's Skyrim, boom, 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 all within just a very short period of each other. Do you think that's possible again?
I'd like to think so.
Yeah, I mean, it would be amazing. It would be amazing to have a brand new Elder Scrolls game to talk about every 2 years.
I think definitely part of what's going to make it take longer and why that won't be possible is none of those 4 games mentioned were polished by really any stretch of what that word is.
That's true.
Yeah, that's true. That's a very fair statement.
I think that is maybe the biggest part of the hang up is making a Bethesda game feel polished.
Well, it's been 15 years. I don't know if I really
want that.
I don't want it to be polished.
Here's a perspective on that. Yeah, here's a perspective on that. It's been 15 years since Skyrim. the world of games and gamers is very different now.
Right.
Do you think if they were to release things in the state that they typically did back then, that it would still be a massive hit, or would there just be so much pushback that like the game would bomb?
I like my cake with a little dirt in it, but that's just because I grew up that way.
Okay,
you know?
that's fair. And I would also
People
like
say FromSoft make games that are too hard for like modern audience, and then Elden Ring
sells 20 million copies.
sells
But
so
if you look
much.
at the
So
people who play it long term and people who just bought it and left it, it does show.
It does, but actually, so
it's a single player game.
I
That's how it
just
goes.
recently platinumed Elden Ring, so like I
Nice.
can see like the.
And you're not the main target audience,
I'm-
just so people
I'm-
know.
Yeah,
Far
Souls-like
from it.
games are actually not super my thing, but I really gave this one a chance, and I love the setting to it. However, the platinum rate for that game is astronomically high.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. The number of
Cannot
people.
believe the amount of people who actually beat that game
Right.
at 100%.
It's the Stockholm
crazy.
syndrome thing. I'm telling
It
you.
is, yeah.
The more abusive the
Yeah.
game is to you, the more you love it.
The more dirt you put in the cake, the more you like it.
The more it
And-
tastes like earthy, and that's okay
More
sometimes.
dirt cake is what we need, apparently.
More
right?
dirt
Yeah,
cake.
Bethesda fans like dirt in their cake, and that's just how it's going to be. But then there's going to be a lot of new
I want
players
my
that come in,
dirt.
and they're going to be like, "Why do you guys like this dirt so much? This sucks."
People are still playing World of Warcraft Classic and old school RuneScape. Now they're not
Yeah.
playing those games because they're highly polished and because they're fair and they don't have weird things that just don't make any sense in them. They do. And yet people like there's something about that friction that makes it I don't know. It's like when you get the feeling of accomplishment, right? Like if they've scientifically shown this, if you get something done and then treat yourself afterwards, you actually enjoy that more than if you just treated yourself without accomplishing something. So for example,
Absolutely.
if you finish something for work, that's like a hard project and you're like, all right, I'm going out tonight and going to celebrate with the boys or I'm just going to get some ice cream or whatever. The enjoyment of that thing afterwards is way better than if you were just like, screw it, I'm just going to go get some ice cream. I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, as somebody who is regularly thought of as a giant Bethesda shill, which is fair and probably apt.
Moves to the shelf behind.
Yeah, exactly. Pay no attention to the shelf behind. I will also say, I mean, the polish level. I mean, the bar doesn't really go that high ever. So
No.
the jank is part of the appeal, I think. To
Yeah.
here's a really cool world. Also, I mean, the Oblivion remaster that came out, they kept some of the bugs in on purpose because the bugs were nostalgic.
Well, I think it was that, and they were able to justify it like that. But it also would have
Correct.
taken an extra year or two to really iron out all those
make
Yeah,
it.
bugs.
like,
But however,
We're Bethesda. We still don't know how to fix that.
right,
Right,
no, we
right.
still can't fix some of these things. But like,
Mhm.
there was actually like people did find that funny because
Yeah.
it's just like, oh, that's
Right.
charming. That's exactly how I remember it. And I'm like, yeah, it does have an appeal
Yeah.
to it as well to be a bitch.
Yeah, I don't want to go to a new Bethesda game and feel like I'm core aligned with the other mother, and this is not the right world. And,
Yeah, no,
you know,
Yeah, something's weird.
well, that's my thing. Is there's acceptable jank, which I feel like works, and then there's I accidentally sold the Thieves Guild armor to the fence, and now they won't talk to me because I can't upgrade the Thieves Guild armor that I sold. That's
Right.
obnoxious.
Yeah.
But-
Isolating
right.
yourself out of content because of something that
whereas
shouldn't
like,
happen.
oh, this
Yeah.
mammoth hit me and I went into the stratosphere. Okay, that's hilarious. Like,
Right.
there's a difference in the types of bugs.
Right. Well, here,
you
let's.
got that. The mammoth goes in the stratosphere, or the giant puts you in the stratosphere.
That's true.
Oh,
Well, I actually had a-
this do fly.
I was going to say also, if you can ever get a giant to hit the mammoth, you can sometimes get the mammoth to fly.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
the mammoths just fly. Just
That's true. You actually don't even. You just need a stern.
It's a native species
Yeah,
ability.
the feature.
They have little secret invisible wings that you can't see. Well, here, I want to shift over to Rob. Do you agree that this whole idea of like mainline game, second studio, every few years getting more stuff?
I think overall, more good can come from it than the risk, but there is risk. I do worry the more hands you put in it, the more chefs in the kitchen, the more problems can arise. And I'm very apprehensive of that, but I've seen time and time again a lot of unique stories and really interesting games come from being outsourced and like working with other companies. So another example, one of my favorite games from childhood, Diablo 2, was outsourced. I forget which one, but it was like Blizzard North instead of Blizzard Main.
Yes. Yeah, Blizzard North
did a lot of the work, and that a lot of the things they put into the game made it what is the reason to be one of my favorite games in my life.
Right,
So
right, and it was smart of Bethesda to hire, or actually, I think they purchased a studio and renamed it Blizzard North. But
you said Bethesda, but yeah, Blizzard. Yeah,
and, I'm sorry, Blizzard. And Blizzard was one of the things. This is back like late '90s, right? One of the things that they did well was the company who was in charge of all of their games were good at identifying, like, okay, this is a good studio. They're going to make good products, and they were right. And so they were able to trust them. And so I think you're right. If you can get the right people in the right studio, and on top of that, what game developer out there in the world working at some other studio that could get hired to do this has never played Skyrim? They're all probably fans. So that seems like it's a much easier thing to outsource than some.
I think if you roll the dice, most results are going to yield in a really cool thing. But there is still that risk of this just getting more gamified and more capitalistic and just ruined by more modern gaming tropes getting implemented. So I do worry about that. But I think overall, there's a lot more to gain.
Do you think the success of a game like Crimson Desert is good, is like a good omen? Because for anybody who doesn't know, Crimson Desert was designed by the Black Desert team, which is a South Korean studio, I believe.
Yes, I believe so.
That makes a South Korean MMO, which is very pay to win, and it still has a lot of players in it. It's very flashy. The world is very interesting and big, but the mechanics of the pay to win MMO thing turn a lot of people off. And so they pivoted, and the next game they designed was Crimson Desert, which is a single player RPG without any of those other things going on. And because they were an MMO studio that was designed to turn around changes very, very quickly, since launch, they've updated, they've fixed, and they've added in multitudes of things into that game in order to make it as good as possible and match more of what the fan base wanted. And so they've done a great job with it. And
to that point,
without my point being, without any of the like negative other stuff, they've proven that if you create a good RPG without those other things, it'll succeed. I would also argue that what's the one that's like the 1300s? It's on sale now on Steam. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, 1 and 2, both awesome games without any of without any of that bad stuff. So and now that studio has been hired to do a Lord of the Rings game because they did such a good quality on those other games. So I don't know. Lotus, you were going to say something?
I was just going to say, like, totally to your point, the quick turnaround to adjusting for complaints, which originally, I think you and I talked about this. I'm not even sure we ever talked about it on air for the podcast or anything, but I played Crimson Desert before it came out. And I was like, yeah, it seems like it'd be fun if the controls weren't garbage.
That's right. Yes.
And everybody's like giving it like, game of show and stuff like that.
Yeah. And then the next time we talked, I'd played it and I was like, I don't know, you're talking about the controls are fine. And you're like,
and
really?
It turned out the first patch fixed the controls. And I was like, okay, well, there you go. Like that's literally like amazing. Cause I've actually tried it and it totally.
It's very normal for you to like have that issue and just say, well, that's never going to be fixed because that's what people do most of the time.
Correct. So I was like, wow, that's an amazing change. And it was like, clearly it was more apparent than what I was told at the conference where everybody's like, oh no, you're just bad at it or whatever. I was like, well, in the end, it turned out it was correct because they changed it. Clearly they agreed.
Yeah. And I think you can make a list, whether it's Cyberpunk or Kingdom Come or Crimson Desert or whatever, that we have now in the last 5 or 6 years had a number of big RPG games that have avoided the pitfalls of leaning into those other things that are huge successes. And maybe the people behind the scenes, Microsoft, if you're listening, have noticed that this is the case and will lean into that. Hopefully. I don't know. This was your concern, Rob. Do you think that does any of this make you feel better, or do you feel like, they still might do it?
Right. And that's why I say, like, overall, I think there's more to gain than there is to worry. And so I think overall I am excited and okay if they do that. But it doesn't completely wash away the worries. It's still there. Like, there's still a risk that these are going to happen because it is Microsoft. They still, like, doesn't Microsoft also have EA?
No, they own Activision. You might be thinking
Activision, that's what it
Yes,
was.
EA
okay.
is still free floating.
Yeah, so I mean, and Activision isn't necessarily the best reputation for avoiding those those kinds of games.
Right.
Well, at least
So-
Bobby Kodak's not out there.
Yes.
Because like that's a very real possibility that they're like, hey, we already have Activision. We're gonna have Activision help finish Elder Scrolls 6.
Sure.
Can you imagine the nightmare that would be?
So that brings me to part 2 of my thing that I had brought up. Who would you like to see work on an offshoot of an Elder Scrolls game? I feel that's a very apt thing. Let's have somebody not work on it. Cough.
Yeah, I could definitely point to a few I don't want. I don't know company reputations well enough to say
Well
like, oh,
enough
I
that
would
you could
definitely
say
want
one.
this
Sure.
company.
Yep.
I would have a few that I'm like, I want you to stay away.
That's fair.
I don't know on like what my favorite one would be necessarily.
That's a good question. Okay, so usually the best case answer for something like this is a smaller developer that has done really good work that's similar that nobody else has really shown up on their list yet.
Yeah.
Because the bigger developers already have their work. Like I mentioned, the team behind Kingdom Come Deliverance is doing a Lord of the Rings game. They're busy.
You know what?
CDPR is busy.
Okay,
Larian would be awesome, but they're busy. They're
Definitely
It's
busy.
fine.
They're already working on their next
It doesn't
thing.
need to be realistic.
In my
It could
fantasy
be a-
world, Larian would nail this.
What
it
if
can
it
be a
was
skooma pipe dream? That's
What-
totally fine.
What was the name of the indie game that we were all talking about 6 months ago or a year ago? That was like King Arthur, Dark Camelot stuff. Remember?
Oh, Blinding was talking about it a lot, right?
Yes,
Oh,
I think
Tainted
so.
Grail falls out.
Tainted Grail. So what if the small studio around Tainted Grail,
Yes,
who
like
were
that Polish
basically
developer? Yeah,
making
yeah,
an
yeah.
Elder Scrolls game without the same engine,
Actually get to just make an Elder Scrolls game.
because clearly they're fans of the series. That game is very highly marketed on being
Oh, yeah.
Elder Scrolls like. And they can do cool stuff. Like my issue with the game is that it wasn't enough Elder Scrolls. The game wasn't as open world. You couldn't just pick up the items. But what if you give them the Bethesda, like the Creation 2 engine, and you're like, have at it, go? Do you think that would work?
I actually like that quite a bit because I was very impressed with that game, and I mean, I have a different take so far than all of you guys, so I'd be curious to get into that after. But yeah, no, I think they would be a great choice for like a dev going forward with something like that.
I don't know how big the studio is.
I'd
I
be
don't.
pretty open to a lot of
pretty
different
small as far as I
companies.
know.
Yeah.
Because I think odds are if they're excited enough to want to work on it, they're going to be passionate enough about the series
Yes.
to give us something good. So like, I think there's going to be so many correct choices, and there's just like a good, like anyone who's at the top of the game already, you don't want to choose them because they're probably just in it for money.
Yeah. Okay, so here's an interesting question. In chat, Modest Pickle says, would any of you like an Elder Scrolls game that's a JRPG or JRPG/VR game? I'm not sure what a JRPG/VR game is, but we can discuss JRPG or VR. Skyrim VR worked well. I don't know that just to jump on this real quick, I don't think there's enough of an active VR gaming market right now because nobody's making major titles for VR right now.
But the JRPG is interesting for sure. I definitely wouldn't want that in a mainline series, but like as a side game, that would be really, really cool.
That's actually closest to what I was going to say. I would like a completely different genre for the game.
Sports.
So if we're going
Sports. So I was thinking
JRPG sports, it's a tennis game and you have to play against
Yes.
The Dovahkiins for
I was trying to think of like a
Mankar Cameron
console.
shows up.
F1, it's like F1 or Forza, but horse and buggy.
But okay, imagine JRPG version of this, something along the lines of, I mean, clearly Final Fantasy could be a thing, but I'm thinking Expedition 33, right? Something like that, where you have a small team, you build your team out, you go on some sort of adventure as a group, and maybe it's an important part from some time in history. It's not like continuing the timeline. It's like ESO did. You go back to like the end of the Riemann dynasty or something. The Alessian revolt, and now you are fighting a bunch of aliens in order to gain your freedom or something like that. What do you think about something like that?
Jonathan Walton here from Queen of the Con with a brand new podcast series to tell you about. It's called Hardcore Con. In each episode, we not only tell you a crazy con story, but we expose the specific brain hacks professional scammers use to get what they want. Sometimes it's money, sometimes it's marriage, sometimes it's murder. Scamming is a billion-dollar industry, and I'm going to teach you why con artists are so successful these days. Listen to Hardcore Con wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Hardcore Con.
I'm actually, I mean, JRPG would definitely be interesting. I kind of like that. I like the idea of telling these offshoot stories exactly like you said, like an Alessian Revolt or something like that. Fill in these side stories, but fill them in something weird. The example, which ironically somebody just brought up on Twitter or whatever, and I actually had a copy of it, and I was like, game gets more hate than it really should, is Fallout Brotherhood of Steel. Which is the which is the
game does get a lot of hate. Yeah,
it's really not that bad. It's pretty 90. It's a totally fun Diablo like clone, with late 90s, early 2000s music. At like I think Slipknot. Actually, I can't
say like modern music at that time.
Yes, like I actually can't give the title of the last track in the game because we try to stay PG here. but yeah, there's a Slipknot song during the final boss fight. It's hyper 90s cringe for dialogue and stuff like that. But then it's just a total Diablo ripoff. And I was like, this game's way more fun than it has any right to be.
You're kind of selling me on it, dude. I gotta say, that sounds pretty cool.
So if you had an Elder Scrolls Diablo like, is that where we're going? Like a Diablo like Elder Scrolls?
I would be all for an ARPG Elder Scrolls game. And that's why, you know what? I don't rule out the fact that like a JRPG one, I could see that. That'd be weird.
Or if it's more like already contained story and less about creating your own characters, like some Final Fantasy games, you just have your characters, right? But what if it was like Queen Alessia, Morehouse, Pelennor Whitestrake, like all teaming up, doing their thing? That would be weird. It would be super weird.
Adventure. Saving some weird crystals for some reason, because that's most of the Final Fantasy plots.
You would have to have all your parties in parties of 3 because of the Elder Scrolls Enantium structure.
Like that. No, that's clever. That's clever. They could do some deep cuts that if you're not a total nerd like us, people would
you have to have your major warrior and your thief in every party.
Right. And your gay time traveling
really
cyborg.
Cool, actually. That's so
dude, I'm sold on this now too. This is exactly the type of weird stuff I was talking about. This is what I had in mind.
Here's another fun idea. Let's go back in time. I'm taking we're back in time, right? It's the mid 90s. Doom is awesome. Doom 2 is awesome. Everybody's playing
Doom's
Doom.
Awesome right now.
Right. It's still awesome. But like
Doom is still cool.
It's newly awesome. And so other companies are like, we want to make Doom likes, which was a phrase people said.
Yeah. Yep.
And then you ended up with what were the names are escaping me. The magic ones. Where they're like in these dark
Hexen,
and Heretic. That's it.
Might and Magic.
Hexen and Heretic.
Might and Magic had one too, but I just played through Hexen and Heretic on the remaster, so that's why I thought of this.
So what the idea here then would be do a first person shooter with the current Doom engine in the Elder Scrolls world. That's like a Hexen type of game.
I mean, I wanted Doom: The Dark Ages to just be Quake anyways, so sure, bring it to.
Like you're shooting bows, you're casting spells with your staff, but everything's like fast and visceral and first-person shootery. There's just not machine guns or anything,
But there's extra machine gun.
Extra machine guns. Or we go into the future and
yes.
Oh god, it became Coda very quickly.
It becomes Coda.
Helenol's waiting for us.
It's a Coda game. Yeah, and Vivek's there and all. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I this is where I think this would shine the best. Now, obviously, as a side effect, we would probably get some real misses too.
Yeah.
But I think we could get some pretty creative hits during this too. Yeah. So I'm loving the ideas on this. It's just like, because then it might branch out. I mean, ESO being an MMO, it was like, it had a lot of stuff like trappings wise that made it feel Elder Scrollsy in a lot of ways, but it's definitely still a different style of game. If you just have some of the Elder Scrolls series trappings in a new genre, think, you might actually end up pulling in people that like different things. And then, hey, what in the end, maybe you get more people wedged in. Because I know people who played ESO who've never played a mainline Elder Scrolls game, as ridiculous as that seems.
Right. You broaden your fan base by having these different genres.
And I know for a fact a couple of them then went out and bought Skyrim because they had never played it and were actually interested in whatever the next Elder Scrolls game was because of it. And it's like, there you go. Like you get a little bit of crossover.
Lotus, it's very interesting that you bring this up because I just had a conversation a few days ago with John from the 40K Lorecast as we were recording Retro Recall. And I was talking, I brought up Darktide, which we talked about in the pre-show. And he plays a lot of the video games, but he also knows the tabletop and all of this. So obviously he does the 40K Lorecast. And one of the things that came up was, I was like, didn't they just like give anybody who wanted the rights to 40K so they could just make games? And he's like, yeah, they did that for a while, but they've stopped doing it because some of those games became hits and now they're doubling down on the hits and the studios that made the real good ones. And it's a lot harder to get the IP, which
so they kind of like field sourced it to see who landed something good.
Because for the most part, if it went under if it was just some indie game that showed up on Steam and nobody played it, like it goes on sale and ends up in like a humble bundle, but nobody really cares if that game did well or not. But then you get a Space Marine 2 or a Darktide or whatever.
Yeah, Darktide was the third one that Fat Shark did. So Fat Shark had like really done well with Vermintide, and then they got permission to do Vermintide 2, and they got permission to do Darktide, so they were making money the whole time on those.
Yeah. So the idea then would be, and I think it's an interesting idea, but I think there's some danger, especially coming from something like Elder Scrolls that already has a certain percentage of the audience being very skeptical about the quality of the next game. If you toss too much up against the wall, then people are just going to, and they're not good for a little while, people are going to get real down on it. Well,
that's the thing is to I think it was Falcon who made the point. We got to get the Elder Scrolls 6 first, and it also needs to land. And be good. Then if they've got this goodwill in a couple of years, you can have stuff, because right now sentiment is not great.
They have to prove themselves.
I disagree. I think if they start pumping games out
and have them like land,
that's how they can gain favor.
I guess that's true, because I mean, Oblivion Remaster was like a huge one, like because that's a form of. I mean, it's not another game in the series, but it's like bringing something back to keep the IP relevant.
Definitely brought in more positive light back to Bethesda.
Right.
And to all of Starfield's flaws, as some people just didn't like certain aspects of Starfield, it was the least buggy major Bethesda release ever.
Yeah, I actually didn't. I mean, I still have not played it nearly as much as I would have expected, because I think it's fine.
Right. But like my point being that like we were talking earlier. I actually don't
think I ran into any bugs.
Right. Yeah. We were talking earlier about how like that's part of the old style of Bethesda mainline games is that they're so buggy, and New Vegas is still extremely hard to get running on your PC or whatever.
Right. It's like you mod it to work, and that's fine because the community.
They successfully got Starfield to be bug free, but they didn't put enough work in it to make it a good enough game to pick up the player base. That
I know it was weird. It was.
And that's what we're worried might happen.
Maybe people were secretly upset about the lack of bugs, and that's what didn't work.
Maybe that's it. Well, the good news is that Todd on multiple interviews so far has said we are going back to the old style of making games. We're not going to have one of the big complaints. In fact, probably the biggest complaint of Starfield is that so many of the locations felt mostly empty. And when you did find something, it was just procedurally generated. It was the same base that you've already been to 5 other times.
Yeah, it was Wandering the Wilderness in Arena or Daggerfall.
Right.
Except that was the entire game.
Right. And Bethesda figured out how to fix that. Like by the time you get to Morrowind, Oblivion, and Skyrim, they're like, okay,
curated.
Everything that's on your compass that's like, oh, there's something over there. There's something over there. And it's not like anything else you've seen. And so if they're going back to that, and they release a game that's not so buggy and everybody enjoys it, then maybe people are like happy again. I don't know. Falcon, I know you have to leave in just a few minutes. You have to get going early. Is there anything else, any other thoughts on any of this you want to share before you have to go?
No, I don't. I think we've covered really everything I planned on talking about.
Okay. If you were Todd Howard and you were like, okay, I'm going to give somebody the rights to make an Elder Scrolls game alongside the one we're working on, what idea would you greenlight? And it could be one of the ones we've talked about. It can be something we haven't talked about at all. But if you were like putting all your eggs in one basket and you're like, okay, other than Elder Scrolls 6, this is the next thing we're going to make. Or somebody else is going to make.
Dream then is like the Fallout 3 to New Vegas, do a semi-mainline and made by Warhorse. The Kingdom Come developers.
Yeah, the Kingdom Come. Yeah.
Obviously, they're busy, but this is a dream scenario.
But you would have like a main, whatever, I don't know.
A major RPG developer who's already done it a few times and showed that they can do it. Yeah,
they've already shown they can.
In a similar genre to what a mainline entry would be.
Right. Yeah, because Kingdom Come Deliverance and Deliverance 2 feel very Elder Scrolls-y, but in a very much more like
grounded,
realistic kind of
very
actual
grounded,
history kind of way. Yeah, so that would be interesting. I think that would be really cool. I don't know that we'll get them, but that's a fun idea.
I would be all on board for it.
Let's continue this train of thought. Rob, which one would you go for?
Which studio?
See you later, Falcon. Yeah, what game idea? Like what type of game would you want?
I mean, the more we were talking about the JRPG party base in the NTM more party of 3, like that sounds super cool.
Yep, that's really creative.
Whatever I was gonna say is not as cool as that.
Okay.
And yeah, I'd probably either go because Larian has proven that they're very good at making party-based, turn-based games. So that's effectively what a JRPG is, but they did it in very Western style, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in the traditional Baldur's Gate style, just kind of updated.
Yeah, just a good old PC game, but modern. But they could, do a little JRPG twist, or more home to what would actually be a closer version of that. What was it? Is it Sandfall that did Expedition 33?
Oh yeah, I don't remember the name of the studio, but
I don't remember the name of the studio, but that sounds right.
Yeah, and that would be way more JRPG than like Western RPG, like Larian.
Right? Because I mean, the people who did Expedition 33, they were like, we were heavily inspired by the Final Fantasy games of our childhood.
Except they said it with a French accent.
Yeah,
because they're a French developer. Yes,
we would remove the French out of it. It's very important that we take as much French out of that as we can.
I don't know, man. I want to see a very French Elder Scrolls. It's like a Breton campaign, maybe. I don't know.
But no, that would. I had my brain kind of going for a few other directions of like cool side games, but like a party based JRPG. That's like, a 3-party structure just sounds super cool. Whether it's predetermined characters or you can make your own custom party, maybe both.
How hard do you lean into a more traditional JRPG art style? Like, do you actually outsource it to an actual Japanese developer and have like anime characters?
Oh,
I'm just thinking of was like Tetsuya Nomura, I think is his name, the guy who did the art for Final Fantasy VI. I'm just thinking of like the concept arts from that. If we got anything close to that for Elder Scrolls, would be gorgeous.
You get a pixel art version.
Well, I mean, the concept art was
concept art. Yeah,
no, I know, but that's pulling me in another direction.
Yeah, but I get what you're saying, Rob. The concept art for those old games is actually very interesting, and some of it's like watercolor. It's very
I love
very
the
cool.
OG like.
I think the guy did most of the concept art for like Final Fantasy VI and everything before that for the most part.
Because I was going to say, I just went through Final Fantasy 1 a little while ago, and like the title screen is the concept art for the title, and it looks incredible. I love it.
I remember
it's so pretty.
Final Fantasy 2, the main character Therion has like really gorgeous concept art for him as well. So like, that kind of like art influence and art style applied to an Elder Scrolls game would be really interesting and really cool.
Honestly, because it also sort of almost aligns with Kirkbride's pen and ink style has a feel in a similar way to that. We actually have shown it on the show quite a few times. That one where Vivek was getting shanked. That one
spear,
with like, like it's got that. It's like, so Kirkbride's influence actually has a very similar feel, a little more, I would say, like, rustic maybe than flowy than the Final Fantasy one, but for sure.
You just need some passionate weirdos who have some mental problems to just really hone in.
Hell yeah.
Do you think, okay, so here's the question with that. If you take something like Elder Scrolls, which everybody already has some sort of version in their own mind about what it should and shouldn't be, and you animate it for lack of a better term. Do you think people are going to get upset about that?
Well, if you just animate it, yes, I would be upset because that's not. I don't want that.
But do you think that even if you only just took it in that direction, people would be like, "Oh, it's like," for example, the World of Warcraft community, as they've continued to update the graphics in the game, are like, "Oh, well, they're Disney-fying the game. It doesn't look dark and scary anymore." And it's like, did you look at the original game? There are parts of that definitely don't look dark and scary. They look kind of derpy.
You know what? That's a good point because the Elder Scrolls does have a very unique art style for their people. I think you can do a lot with the environment and make it look as gorgeous as you want or as whatever else, whether adjective you want to throw in there. And you can do a lot with the environment and people will take that as where they have it. But the faces of the humans and the elves are very distinct in Elder Scrolls. And you don't want to take away from that too much. Like if your elves don't look like aliens, it's not Elder Scrolls.
That's fair.
Well, they look less and less like aliens in ESO compared to the mainline game.
And that's actually some of my biggest criticisms for ESO. I have a lot of love for ESO, but I don't like the way their character models look.
It's so funny you say that. Mine's not so much the character models, is everybody isn't dirty enough in Elder Scrolls.
Yeah, everyone's
I feel like everybody recently had a bath, and that is not how I like my Elder Scrolls.
And I think that comes down to like they have all of these cool customizations for outfits and such, and they want to make them look cooler and cooler, and they forget to make them look like
filthy,
rough and tumble. And that's the heart of Elder Scrolls is you're out in the wilderness fending for your life. You're not polishing your golden armor.
Yeah, that's actually kind of a good point, I feel, because like I don't mind Final Fantasy being clean. And that actually does, now that you say it, it's like, oh, actually that might feel weird. And honestly, it's part of the issue I have with castles. The art style is actually a huge turnoff because I was like, this just feels like a generic phone game that you slap the word Elder Scrolls on.
That's just a dude in a castle. That doesn't look like
correct. And it's like,
oh,
it's an Argonian. No, it's just a chibi little like lizard man that you're saying's an Argonian. Like,
so I do love the art styles from like the Final Fantasy early games and stuff. That would be a really cool interpretation. But it would be very important that they keep the influences to heart. And so you can change it a bit. ESO changed it a bit, and I wasn't crazy about it, but hey, it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, no, it's close enough that it's still acceptable, even if it's not ideal.
I don't trash the ESO character models. I just wish they were better. And if it's in the realm, that's fine. The closer to realm, the better, but there's a lot. You can have creative liberties, but don't get too crazy, you know?
So you're saying more Expedition 33 and less Final Fantasy 7?
Final Fantasy VII is a horrible example for what I want a game to look like.
Because I mean, Final Fantasy VII is very anime. Like we're talking spiky hair and giant swords.
It's probably the only Final Fantasy game that visually will never age well.
So you're saying not that, but like Expedition 33, which is more like real human proportions, like people look different from each other, but in more realistic
even then,
sort of ways.
I don't want my characters to look like the characters in Expedition 33 because I want my characters to look weird. I want them to look like they're in Tamriel, and even the humans look a little weird, and the elves look very weird. I still want that to be a thing. So it's hard to articulate exactly what I want, but it's okay if they go more Expedition 33, if they go more Final Fantasy, as long as they still respect the source and they don't make the people look too different.
Yeah, it's a tough line to tread. I wouldn't want to be the like the artists who have to like do that and find that comfortable spot, like be creative and push it in some stylistic direction, but not too far, you know, like
make it your own, but also don't offend anybody by making it to your own.
Like Final Fantasy 8 and 9, they kind of they go into like the more 3D models and it doesn't look like garbage like Final Fantasy 7 did.
Well, I mean, I'm even talking stylistically, like the new remakes of 7 like have taken those same character designs, but they're still very anime. Like those characters look way more anime than the characters from like say 8 or 10. You know, like although they are all anime-ish.
8, 9, and 10, I would say look very similar to the 7 remake, in my opinion. They all have that very anime look, and that is that would be very weird if everyone in Elder Scrolls had anime hair. Can you
Right,
imagine?
Yeah, no, that would be
Yeah.
no. Let's not do that.
Yeah, that would be. A little
I
weird.
could take inspiration from the outfits. I think the outfits could be transfer over in a cool way, maybe.
Okay.
But
Okay.
no, you gotta make sure the faces and the hair fit Elder Scrolls still.
Sure. Lotus. Okay. I have a feeling you would want an ARPG.
Yeah,
If you had to pick one?
ARPG, I actually love the whole JRPG. That did not, I was thinking just like a genre shift for sure as like my main thing, but that was a creative direction I had not considered. So I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah, the more we talked about it, I was like, man, this is really cool.
Yep. No, I was down with that. But yeah, my thought immediately, which is kind of why I thought of this, other than obviously the Microsoft press announcement that brought it up, but like just the fact that I was talking about that, weird Fallout spinoff that I'm like, I actually kind of liked that for what it was type of thing.
Mhm.
And it just told a weird side story that I think they don't even say is canon because you can be a ghoul as part of the Brotherhood of Steel, which is like, that is, all right, sure, whatever, man.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. It depends on who makes the list. I think Brotherhood of Steel is when I've seen, if I'm recalling correctly, when I've seen Bethesda do lists recently about which games are canon, I think that one is one of those like, yeah, it actually is in the canon list.
okay. Well, I mean,
But that list has expanded in recent years with the TV show as well. So
Well, exactly. And then you have that type of thing, which can keep series alive. Fallout has had their huge hype because of it having the, TV series from Amazon. We bring up all the time that it'd be like, oh man, you guys going to write a novel again? Because that would be great.
Mhm.
TV series, something like that could coincide with it and also spur along a game type of thing. So it's like, but yeah, I don't know. I love ARPGs. I'm a big like Diablo fan. So like if we could get something like that somehow in this series, that would be really cool to me. So that was probably my main jump. But at the same time, yeah, like I said, any of these genre shifts are kind of interesting, especially because like the JRPG was not one I considered, and I think that's pretty sweet. Like that was a creative pull. I appreciate that one.
Yeah. So okay. So if we went into the realm of ARPG, what character classes would you pull the classes from ESO and put them in the game?
You should. Yeah, I think you could have like the classes, but in full Elder Scrolls style, I think you should be allowed to kind of subclass, mix and match out of the things that are there. They have
like it depends on the weapons that you pick up,
correct,
like that kind of
and
thing.
you can design kind of how it works, type of thing.
Yeah, yeah. You pick your weapons and skills, and so you can like just like in a regular in Skyrim, right?
100%.
You can be like, I want to use
you're
a sword,
using
but
two-handed,
also
so your
throw
two-handed
fireballs.
skill is getting better.
Right.
Like, but you can also
in like ESO now, you can kind of combine all of the classes.
correct, which a lot of people I know that was very contentious, and I'm like, back in the first game, you could do that. This has always been a thing.
And that's kind of the spirit of how you would play it in Skyrim as well. It's obviously a very different structure, but similar.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, I think that would be fun in a RPG type of setting. And I think oftentimes ARPGs are usually in a more medieval style setting with fantasy elements. They're not as commonly in the future. So it even kind of fits pretty well with that genre in general. So I think that would probably be my go-to. I would be a big fan of something like that.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. So for mine, I think I'm going to go with something we haven't discussed. I think we're going to do a pirate game. And your name is Cyrus, and you are a Red Guard.
Whoa.
And it's a remake.
Wait, hold up. Is it going to have the worst voice acting on the planet except for the main character?
It's going to have the same exact voice acting pulled from the original Red Guard. It's just going to be a remake of that game.
Something happened to Cyrus's sister, and
it's a sequel to Elder Scrolls Red Guard, but it has the same voice acting and the same exact voice lines. For some reason.
That's incredible. I really appreciate that. And
as long as we can also splice in, I believe it's the scamps from Battlespire that Lotus really, really loves.
Yeah, Everscamp McLustthirst.
Yes, yeah.
Yep.
That's the one. We just have that spliced into the Red Guard.
Absolutely.
Oh man! All right. Well, I think we've hit everything. Modest Pickle again says it'd be cool to have a small self-contained story, something like Detroit Become Human.
I was going to say there's a whole direction we go on what the story would be like. And I've mentioned, I think last podcast we did was I did a D&D campaign that I've started I literally have it set in Tamriel, but I just took like the basic plot of Diablo 1, put a Tamriel skin over it, and that's my campaign.
Yeah.
And so the fact that like we're talking about combining Diablo with Elder Scrolls and getting a game into, I'm like, yes, this is what I've always wanted. It's like,
So just before we go, I want to just shout out somebody who I have known for a long time in the Elder Scrolls community. They are on Twitter still under Torchbug Emperor, and their pinned tweet is a literally created screen called Redguard 2. And they're one of the people who has played all the weird abstract things along with me and stuff like that. And we periodically have stupid jokes. And
there's
I remember,
two of you?
Yeah, there are. You want to consider benefactor, there's three of us.
Yeah.
But they had a Redguard 2 announcement after the trailer because the background is actually the Elder Scrolls 6 trailer background, except it's Redguard 2 in front of it.
Nice.
And yeah, I was going to say, I remember he launched that, he posted that up and it got very popular because like, what is this? Right. It's just very funny when you announce that because I had to do a follow-up after 1E3 and people actually thought it was real where it was Battlespire 2 because I took the thing and I superimposed it 2 in the crescent moon that she's holding. And people were like, what is this sequel? I was like, oh God, people actually thought it was real. So, you can convince people of anything.
Oh man. All right. We're going to but I would love to hear if you're listening to this episode and have some thoughts on any of this or ideas that we didn't cover that you're like, man, actually this would be really cool.
I was going to say Chad had one of our favorite ideas.
Yeah. Comment, share some ideas. I mean, anything's up for grabs and it might be hilarious. It might be terrible, but that's still fun,
Exactly.
So yeah, please share your ideas. But we've got to wrap this episode up. Thank you, everybody who supports the show. We'll read through all the patrons and stuff on the next episode. We've gone a little bit longer in this episode so far. But if you'd like to help support the show, patreon.com/Elder Scrolls Lorecast. And you can join us like Rob and some of the other people. In fact, I was hoping we were going to have some other... We have a bunch of patrons who are at the tier where they can join us for the chat. But
join us.
I guess we're just too intimidating and only so many people come join us. Yeah, let's just share the Redguard image. That's great. Rob, any last thoughts? Anything else you want to share before we wrap this up?
No, I mean, I'm excited for the future, and I hope it's not going to disappoint us. Whatever ends up happening with these games. As far as goodbyes, you can find me at Rob the Princess online in various places if you want. I'm not very loud online though. And,
I'm not very loud.
You can, that's about it. I don't really got a whole lot going on this time of year, so
I get it. There's enough loud people online. Why compete?
Yeah.
Oof. And most of them are bots at this point. But
most of them are bots.
Yeah, let us anything going on. How's Tales of Tamriel?
Good. I was going to say we just released an episode earlier this week. If you want to check that out, just kind of discussing the new update and a lot of the new stuff that we've had time to mess with. Game is feeling real good. If you're a fan of Elder Scrolls Online or interested in it, it's actually, again, the last couple of patches, speaking of bug free, they've been actually really producing these patches and additions with a ton of quality of life, a ton of user-friendly stuff, like player-forward stuff to unlock in-game, and all these new additions they've added. World difficulty has been very interesting. A lot of people who were kind of just like, yeah, it's just, you breeze through everything. Man, you put that on Vestige, and that is a challenge. I like Master if I want to actually do anything.
Yeah.
Vestige is really like, okay, like this is this is rough.
So I had an idea on that note, and I tested it out a little bit because you and I were talking about this last week or whatever, and I was like, we were talking about trying all the different world difficulties, and I appreciate it as well. But I was like, okay, could you do an Iron Man to level 50 run with a brand new character on the hardest difficulty without dying? Because if you die, you have to delete your character.
Right.
And so I started a character. I was like, I'm going to be a Dragon Knight, and started the character. I was a Strauss Mackay. I ran up to the first creature I found. It was a wolf, and it kicked my butt.
Yeah,
I was like,
the first 3 levels of ESO are the hardest.
I was like, oh my God, that's so hard. I could beat him at Master. I could beat the pirates on the shore at Master, but I couldn't beat anything at Vestige. And I was like, there's got to be a way to make that work, but I just don't. I don't have the skill.
I'm sure there is. I haven't, but like using my built characters, I will say that it is very funny because I've done. I want to organize a thing. Also, by the way, welcome to the new guild members. People are always welcomed in. Just let me know what your tags are. Fill out an application.
On our Discord, Robots Radio Discord.
On our Discord. Yeah, I was going to say fill out an application, send me a message so that I know to look for you on PlayStation or in-game. That's totally cool. And come in, and I would like to organize like a big group run to do some stuff on like the crazy hard difficulties.
Yeah, what if we had a group? What if we had a Iron Man group? And the goal
survives,
and everyone has to start a brand new character, and we all start at level 1, and we can group up together, or you can go solo or whatever, and you just have to see who gets the furthest. In fact, if there was a way to validate this, like the game doesn't have a built-in Iron Man mode, but that would be cool if it did. But it would be cool to do some sort of competition where we gave a reward to the first person who can get to level 50, all only on Vestige difficulty.
On difficulty.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, so I joined just for a Dark Anchor on Vestige. And you can actually see, it looks like people's symbols off to the side. It will actually show what difficulty they're on. And a lot of people were on Master, and a couple were on Vestige.
Master is pretty comfortable still, but Vestige
Master, I feel like, is the appropriate challenge.
Yes.
But man, I went up there, and it was a super fun Dark Anchor to do, but it was a bloodbath. There were bodies everywhere. I'm like, oh, this is great.
Yes.
It's very
It's like, oh man, Molag Bal is actually scary again. This is amazing.
It's terrifying when he's just wiping out 22 people at a Dark Anchor. Deshaun.
Yeah. So it's an idea I've been playing with, and I don't know, it might be a fun video to do too if you could, I don't know, actually accomplish it. That would be amazing.
Right, actually pull it off.
But yeah, try, anybody listening, try load up the game, make a character, level 1, set your character to Vestige difficulty, and then just try and fight anything and see if you can survive. Because heck, even the Dragon Knight comes with his own shield, and one hit from a wolf takes away the shield. It's just, and then you're like, oh crap, I got to cast another shield. It's real hard. It's real
brutal.
Hard. Yeah.
It's got to be brutal because it's rough even rebuilt. Like you actually have to pay attention.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe ranged, like people are, Ghost Toadlet says I can usually do regular mobs unless there's 4 or more things. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure my like established like high level, and the other thing is that I didn't use any of the, what's the extra points you get at past level 50? What are they called? I forget.
Your champion points.
Champion points. I didn't use any of my champion points either. I was just like bare minimal.
Yeah, you're just trying to see what the experience is from scratch.
Bare minimal. Only the gear I
like
started with.
Stamina because you're low level. You can't dodge very much.
I know you get 2 dodges and then you're winded.
Right. And I even it usually starts you off at like level 3. You get like a few boosts real early.
Yeah, they give you that's why Rob's right. It's the first couple levels are brutal.
Right. And so I put that into health, but it still wasn't enough. So yeah, let me know if you're able to accomplish this. It would be really interesting. And if anyone wants to make a YouTube video that'd probably get a lot of clicks, tell the story about how you did this and you got to level 50 and show them. Because I'm sure people would find that interesting. But that's going to do it for this week. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and being a part of this. If you're interested in my stuff, of course, there's the Fallout Lorecast. There's the Lord of the Rings Lorecast. We're currently working through the Fellowship of the Ring, like 3 or 4 pages at a time. I'm doing a very deep reading of it. Turns out Tolkien is amazing because you can actually do that. There's enough to talk about every 3 or 4 pages to talk for half an hour. But then also Retro Recall. In fact, Retro Recall, we just finished a month of the most hardest games. I talked about this last month. And the next month of games are going to be early RPGs, including Final Fantasy, Dragon Warrior, and then some of the gold box D&D games. So those are really interesting to go back. And I know Lotus just played through Final Fantasy 1. It's really interesting to play those again.
Hey, I got a question. What's the random UESP page?
Oh, crap. I forgot.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, UESP. Gotta look it up. UEPS.
I've heard of that place.
UEPS is not the word. What is? What
I feel like that's something different.
It's commonly refers to Ultimo Entrado Primero Salido.
Gesundheit.
Just what
I don't know how. Nice. I don't know those words. Random page. I'm sure lots of people know those words, but I don't. All right, here we go. Online, Azure Blight Swarm. This is a creature from ESO.
Oh, it's from one of the dungeons.
Yeah, these are Fetrify swarms that are afflicted by the Azure Blight. They are released by Azure Blight hives.
There's a whole lot of those in the layer of Masterlock.
A lot of glue. There you go. Yep. Lair of Marstalock and Runes of Magrus's Ascent.
Perfect.
Species, Fetcherfly. Health,
Delicious.
68,783.
Those flies have more health than my tank.
That's crazy. These
I
are
was gonna say, aren't the Fetcher flies are like just the ones that you can like one click, they die.
Yeah.
And so they have a modification of that species that's just giant
miserable.
tank of a monster.
yeah, these are the
Just a
monster
miserable
versions
creation.
of like the tiny little guys. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So there you go. Azure Blight Swarm. Azure is a weird word. Anyway.
Yes, it is.
Azure.
Azure.
Yeah.
Azure.
Azure in
Azure.
Spanish, but
No.
Azure
We spiraled.
Blight.
We spiraled out of control.
All right. We better
Don't accept
turn off
it.
the
just
episode.
borrowed
We're done.
Spanish.
Thanks for being here. Chat, thanks for being here. We'll see you guys next week. Let us know. I'll be back. I'll read through the new patrons and the reviews then. So bye, everyone. Have a good week. See ya.
See you later.
Thanks for tuning in to the Elder Scrolls Lorecast. Check out robotsradio.net for more podcasts just like this, and join us on the Robots Radio Discord. Be part of a community of over 5,000 people who are excited about video games and so much more. Robots Radio. Games, lore, stories, community. Just press play.